Okay, so today for our Ditch That episode, we are going to ditch store-bought sandwich bread. It is soft, it is fluffy, and it'll hold up to a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, if you do any of my recipes, you're going to quickly learn that my favorite combination is Coruscant and hard white wheat for breads, pizza crust, things like that. So on this bread that I'm making today, this is kind of like a white fluffy sandwich bread. I also have a honey oat wheat bread that uses hard red wheat, and so that gives you a little bit more of that rustic hearty bread. And then this is more of like a fluffy white bread that maybe your kids are used to. So I use a combination of hard white and Coruscant wheat. Some people call Coruscant kamut, which is actually just the brand name. What I like about this combination is you get the protein that you need and the gluten structure that you need from the hard white wheat, and you get a really good light fluffy texture and a buttery flavor from the Coruscant wheat. Now when you look at a recipe like this that has both of these grains, if you don't have Coruscant wheat, you can always just use hard white wheat. Okay, I'm going to do 1,400 grams of hard white wheat to start and 440 grams of Coruscant. So we're going to make a pretty good sized batch. Again, all of these recipes are written by weights, and you can adjust based on your size mixer. If you can only do a single loaf at a time, there will be instructions in there for that as well. So this pan is probably not going to fit all 1,400 grams, but so I'll stop at 1,000, and then I'll weigh out the additional 400. Right, and then I'm going to do 440 grams of Coruscant wheat. And then we're going to mill those on the finest setting on the Nutrimill. Okay, the great news about the Nutrimill Classic is I just did about 1,850 grams of flour of wheat berries and produced that much flour all in one milling. So this mill has a huge hopper and a huge canister to catch a ton of flour. Okay, now that I have all of my flour in my mixing bowl, we're going to do what's called an autolyse, which is where we put everything but the yeast in our mixing bowl and let it sit for about 20 minutes so that it softens all of the bran and the germ and kind of let that flour absorb the water. So our first ingredient that we're going to add is a half a cup of olive oil. All right, so we've got our olive oil in there. Now we're going to add 6 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of salt, 4 tablespoons of honey. And then the other thing I always make sure and do is go ahead and measure out my yeast and have it in a bowl so that when I add it after the autolyse, I don't wonder, did I put yeast in this or not? I've done this before. So I always go ahead and get that pre-measured and have it sitting in a bowl so there's no question whether or not it was added to my mixture. Okay, I've got my Ancresham bowl set up here with the roller attachment. I'm going to add my scraper over here, and I set this up a little bit off of the wall there so that it doesn't spray flour out of the bowl, and I'm going to do it just real slow. Get the honey kind of mixed in a little bit, get all of your flour moistened, and then you're going to turn it off and cover it. So you can see it's starting to come together, and then we'll just go ahead and cover it and let it autolyse for about 20 minutes. Okay, after my 20-minute timer, I'm going to add my yeast and start mixing. to 10 minutes, depending on the day and the weather and if there's humidity in the air. But start at about 6 minutes, and this endosperm does have a timer, so that's nice. Okay, this is us about 6 minutes in on kneading. I think it needs about 2 or 3 more minutes, not long. It's getting there. Okay, we're about 8 minutes in, and I think we need about 2 more minutes, so we'll give it 10 minutes and see from there. Okay, we've got our dough all ready, and I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap and let it proof for an hour. Okay, our dough has doubled in size, so we're ready to portion out our loaves. So I'm going to make 4 848 gram loaves of bread. After I flatten my dough out, I'm going to fold the sides in, and I'm going to roll it as tight as I can to get good dough tension. I'm going to pinch the ends in, and then I'll place it into my prepared loaf pans. While our bread is hot, we want to take a stick of butter and kind of paint over the tops of all of your loaves. Okay, after my bread cools, I love to cut it with an electric knife, and anything with a real sharp blade is great. I'm just able to get it a lot thinner without tearing it up with a really sharp blade. So here is what the bread looks like. It's nice and soft, and it holds up really well to peanut butter or whatever spread you're going to put on it. I know that's always been my problem, is if I did peanut butter, it would tear up some of my bread. So this recipe has finally gotten to the point where I enjoy it. It stays soft for a few days. I also will take this bread and I'll slice it, and then I'll put parchment between every 2 loaves, and then I freeze it, and that's how I usually store my bread for the week.